The next ball player I'd like to talk about is Willie Mays. Willie Mays was also kind of difficult to get to because he has so many requests for interviews and speaking engagements. As a matter of fact, if you send him a book, one of his books, autobiography, he'll send it back and ask for a $25 fee plus postage. Not so much as he told me because he needs the money or wants it, it's just he gets thousands of them in the mail. So to cut down some of his volume, he does that, and he finds some collectors who are just going to sell the book opt out of that. And he's really looking for fans or young people, not people who just sell it for $50. So I met Mays in an interesting way. President Reagan's office put me in touch with Leo Durocher. Leo Durocher had suffered a stroke and was not talking to too many people, though he had all his faculties. The only thing you'd notice is his voice was a little shaky. So Reagan's office called Durocher and set up the interview for me. Durocher and I spent a couple of hours talking. And Durocher actually loved Willie Mays as a son. I could honestly say that. He loved him. He treated him with great care. Some of the players on the team resented that, but that's the way it was. So Durocher arranged for me to speak to the great Willie Mays. Willie Mays was part of that three-legged stool in New York when I was growing up. The center fielder for the Yankees, Mickey Mantle. The center fielder for the Giants, the great Willie Mays. And the Dodgers, Duke Snider. And us teenagers would always argue who's the best, Mays, Mantle, or Snider. You could hear that in any high school cafeteria. So I finally got to Willie Mays through Leo. And he couldn't have been nicer. One thing he did do was rate his three idols for me. Growing up, he had three idols: Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, and Stan Musial.
And when you were growing up, did you have idols? For example, Joe DiMaggio obviously is older than you, and
Joe was my idol.
He was your idol.
Yeah.
All right. What did you admire so much about Joltin' Joe?
Joe could do all the things that I felt that a ball player could do. He was complete. That means he could do everything.
Right.
Ted Williams to me was the best hitter, but he wasn't the best all around.
That's right.
So Stan Musial was the best hitter in the National League coming along, and when I got here.
Okay.
So, but he wasn't, again, he didn't have the good arm that Joe had.
Yes.
Couldn't run the bases like Joe. Plus, he played the outfield. Stan played first for a while, but he played the outfield a little bit.
Yes.
So I had my choice, one of the three.
Sure. All of them great men.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you became personal friends with all of them.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, nice people too.
Yes. Now, when the Giants moved from New York City to San Francisco, did you kind of feel out of place on the West Coast initially?
Well, I had a problem my first year out there, and I think the reason for that is that the Giants went to San Francisco from New York, and they had the Coast League out there, and they wasn't used to Major League Baseball. And again, I think the writers played me up so much, and I think I was like an outcast coming from New York to San Francisco.
Right.
And they felt maybe I wasn't the ball player they had already made me out to be. And I only had problems the first year.
Okay.
But I hit very well the first year. I hit 350 something the first year, 29 home runs, so it wasn't a bad year.
No, not at all.
That I had, but still, it was like I had to prove myself all over again after being in the league for 5 years.
That's right. Did you have trouble, Mr. Mays? Of course, you were not the first black man. Jackie was. Did you still find, with your fine record and your excellent sportsmanship, that you felt the prejudice and the bigotry of people because you were black?
It was that. We couldn't stay in a hotel with whites when our place came up.
You could not?
No. St. Louis, Cincinnati, Chicago was three cities I put off my hat right away. But that didn't bother me. That's why Piper Davis and Arthur Wilson came in. I was programmed for all that before I ever came there, so that really didn't bother me from playing ball.
Okay.
Because I was already prepared for it, to understand that this will happen to you, so you got to go out and play without, and those are obstacles that you had to cross.
Yes.
And when Jackie came in, Jackie just went up and said, hey, we're going to stay in. And once he started staying, everybody started staying everywhere.
Yes, yes.
And he also loved Leo Durocher. I can honestly say those two men cared for each other as brothers or father and son. They really loved each other, and one of the thrills for me was hearing each of them talk about the other one and how devoted they were to each other. When Leo had his stroke, Mays was there, and he stayed with him until he got much better. And when Mays had some trouble with a divorce or some personal things, Leo was there for him. So it was a wonderful, wonderful relationship.
And would you say, Mr. Durocher, the best player you ever saw was Willie Mays? You always...
By far.
Now, what the hell made Mays so great? What was it about?
It's God-given. There's only 5 things you can do to be great.
Yes.
And that's hit with power,
Yes.
run, field, and throw.
That's it.
That's God-given. Mays had it all. You only had to look at Mays, and he knew if he made a mistake. You never hollered at Mays. You never raised your voice at him. You just look at him and smile and say, come on, Willie. You're the greatest player in the country.
Sure.
How could you make a mistake like that? And his chest is puffed out, and he's the best player I ever laid eyes on. He did it all. He carried us on his back one year.
Yes.
The year we won the pennant, in 51, also in 54. He carried us on his back for 6, 7 weeks, all by himself.
He was a phenomenal athlete, wasn't he?
Oh, could do it all.
And what a physique on him. I remember seeing him.
Oh.
Beautiful build, Mr. Durocher. He was...
Poor fella had from his waist up, was built like a heavyweight.
Yes, he was.
And his waistline was 33.
He looked like a bodybuilder. He was in...
Well, where do you ever find one like this?
Beautiful, beautiful.
First time I saw him, I said to Mr. Stoneham, he sent me down to Birmingham, Alabama to look at a first baseman. You might remember the name, maybe not, but it'll bring back George Crowe.
Very well, yes.
C-R-O-W-E. And I called Mr. Rickey back. I said, I don't know about Mr. Crowe that you sent me down here, but there's a guy down here that's playing with no shoes. That can play better with his eyes closed than anybody I've ever looked at. And he said, sign him. I said, not me. I don't want to be responsible for losing him. I said, come down and send Hubble, Carl Hubble, down here with a station wagon full of dollar bills. And he'll think he's getting $1 million. And that's what he cost us, $10,000. We had to buy his contract, and we gave him a Chevrolet convertible.
Yes.
Best player I ever saw.
And look at how many players you would have known. That's quite a statement coming from you.
And he played, the funny part of it, he played all the exhibition games and played every game in the regular season. Today, they play 130
Yes.
out of 162, and they're all getting $2 and $3 million and more, and they're not worth $8. I wouldn't have them on the club, and Mays never opened his mouth.
No.
Went along about his business, kept raising him. I said, you're going to make a lot. In those days, he made good money.
Yes.
He made $165,000.
That was good money then, wasn't it?
Oh, in those days.
Boy. Today he'd make $5 million.
Oh, well, you couldn't have him today because you'd have to make him a partner.
Yeah.
He'd have to own half the club.
Yes, he would. He was that good, wasn't he?
Yeah, fellows like Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron, Ted Williams, Stan Musial, players of that caliber, you couldn't sign them today.
No, you couldn't.
No, how would you pay them?
You really couldn't.
You couldn't pay those fellows, and I'm talking about in their prime.
Yes, yes.
You couldn't.